Hello, welcome to this episode of Date with Tech, brought to you by Trescon in association with Below the Fold and Launch Foundry. I'm your host, Naveen Bharadwaj, and I have with me my guest, my friend, Saud Al Dhawyani, who's the Chief Platforms Officer at Emirates NBD Bank. Saud, welcome to Date with Tech.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Most welcome. So we'll be talking about a bunch of different things, of course, banking, financial innovation, inclusion, and whatnot. But before we get there, I want to give our audience a flavor of Saud the human. That's no titles, no companies, but Saud the human. So tell us a little bit about where did you grow up? What did you study? Some of your passions, your hobbies, your habits. And lastly, how did you end up with Emirates NBD? How did you take up, platform's leading role? Wow, a lot of questions. Huh?
Okay, so let me start. I'm an Emirati. From an Emirati family. I grown up here in Dubai, in Jumeirah. Jumeirah the second, and I'm the eldest in my from my mother. I have younger brothers and a sister, and in our families they were like really high expectations from me being the eldest. So I spent a lot of time. In learning things at school and etc. And I was among one of the best, always like one of the best students there at school, and that was encouraged as well by my parents. In the same time, also I was an active athlete, so I love sport. I love sport and different kind of sports. I ran. I played football. I played football as well in one of the clubs here in Dubai, Al Wasl Club.
Oh wow! Wow.
The golden team.
Nice.
So and then after school, I went to one of the colleges here, higher colleges of technology. And when I grown up, I liked building things. I loved technology. I liked creating things. And I still remember as well when I was maybe 11 or 10, I had my first keyboard, and I was trying to master typing as well, learning where the different letters and etc. And then started trying to understanding as well how computers work and how technology evolves and etc. So I had that passion when I was young as well. So when I went into the college, I decided to study technology, mainly computer networking. And it was a nice program that gives a basic exposure to programming and computer networks and gave me a solid foundation about technology. In the same time also, I was keen to learn about the how to work for real companies. I wanted to do that. So I started working at a very young age. I took a job in one of the local banks as well, without obtaining my graduation. But I had good exposure to technology, and I still remember my first interview. And then the guy said that, how do you want us to hire someone without a degree? I told him, well, if I pass the interview, then you should hire me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not because of my graduation or
exactly.
Which is valuable, but that's not the only.
It was tough, and but it was a great experience. I passed the interview, and they were really impressed by my skills at that point in time, and knowledge and passion. I was young, passionate.
Yeah.
I was 20, probably 20.
You're 22 now, so that was 2 years ago.
That was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Guess my age. And there my journey in technology have started, evolved there from engineers, and I took engineering manager at various roles. I managed networking, infrastructure, data center projects, and different technology-related projects. And I moved also from one role to another, various companies, until one of the headhunters. Actually, I met him today as well.
Really?
I met him just a few hours ago.
Is he offering you another executive role somewhere?
Not really. He said, okay, Saud, it seems that since I got you the job at EMBD, you never left. Are you still looking for something else? I told him, not really.
And that means EMBD's got a great culture.
Exactly. And there also the bank, as you know, that the bank is evolving nicely, and the bank had given me a great opportunity to grow and to manage various teams, different areas, be part of interesting, fantastic projects across the group. And one of the most important roles that I took at EMBD was the CTO. I was the CTO for Emirates NBD.
Nice.
And that gave me great exposure as well to the technology space and build my network and deliver many interesting things for Emirates NBD until 2 years ago. I took over the role of Group Chief Platform Officer, which is another challenge for me, but an exciting role.
Fantastic. Yeah. This podcast is all about you, but I want to throw in just a minute. There's a lot of similarities between you and me, and of course, a couple of dissimilarities. I'll start with the dissimilarities. I did not pursue technology. Similarity, though, is I'm a computer science engineer. I worked for a bank. Actually, I got a job at HSBC. I can name it before I was a graduate. I was also working quite early as a teenager. I was also among some of the leading kids in the classroom, although people didn't necessarily like me for that because I was teacher's pet, mischievous teacher's pet. I can relate. Right? So, exactly. So when you were speaking, I'm thinking, is this my life? Another dissimilarity, though, is football. So I was bad in sports. So I know my friends never wanted me in their team. They wanted me in their team for all other things minus sports, right? So maybe I could learn a thing or two in football from you. But going back to you, Saud, Group Chief Platform Officer from being a CTO, I think this is an interesting time, right? Because the technology landscape is evolving so rapidly. Banking system is also transforming so rapidly. Emirates NBD is one of the leading banks here. So you can't be seen as being the second. You always have to be seen as the first. The first to try new things, the first to launch new platforms. How's that working? And what type of immersive, intuitive platforms are you guys focusing on?
So it is, I mean, as I mentioned, since I moved to Emirates NBD, I never thought about moving elsewhere because my personal beliefs and the organization belief system are matching. And this is around being always competitive and try to be always first, because if you are not first, then you are no one. You are not there. Okay, it's either first or nowhere. So this is something that I truly believe in personally, and this is something that the bank as well embraces. And this role is a great role. Actually, it offered me an opportunity to be very closer to our business colleagues. It gives me also an opportunity to deliver things to our customers. My previous role as a CTO was more of an engineering role at the back. I mean, like what people would say is the guy in the garage or in the in the dark room. Yeah. It's it's a comfortable thing for me. I'm an introvert. Yeah. So it was good for me, but I needed to take a strict challenge and be closer to business, and also see in real life myself the impact of what is being delivered, and deal with the stakeholders, orchestrate delivery with them, deal with their day-to-day problems, rather than receive these problems through an intermediator, because a lot could happen through the translation. I mean, you lose the emotional part of it when you talk to the end customer directly.
True. Because you're hearing it from the horse's mouth.
Yes.
You can assess the emotion, the psychology, the idea behind the feedback or input or reception,
etc.
Yeah, very good. Now, I know that one of the things that most bankers are now talking about is open banking, which is completely revolutionizing the way banking was conducted, or banks as we've known it. Are you guys doing something in the open banking space? Regardless of that, what is your take generally on open banking, Saud?
Yeah, open banking, or what the recent evolution of open banking now, which is open finance, is an interesting space. And at EMBD, we started experimenting with this back in 2013, 2014, if I remember correctly as well. And at that point in time, it was always viewed as one of the technology and digital enablement initiative. Okay, it's you need to build those APIs in order to integrate with partners, suppliers, and potentially as well some of the customers. At that point in time, it took us time to mature the technology that supports open banking, open finance. It took us time since we started, but we reached into this situation where we recognize something which is much more important, that open banking and open finance is a business transformation opportunity rather than a technology or a pure digital challenge or a space. It's about how do you look at the organization, a wider ecosystem. APIs and those open APIs are just enablers. Absolutely. And also, such APIs could give you the opportunity even to reconsider your business and operating model within that ecosystem. How would you, where would you play with regards to the supply chain, and how would you distribute your services and products to the customers? How would you manufacture them? Are you going to manufacture them traditionally alone, or actually you're going to co-manufacture them and collaborate within the ecosystem and an intelligent supply chain? And then also, how would you embed the intelligent layer when you distribute services to your customers? It's an interesting space, and EMBD is actively investing in this area, and recently as well collaborating with the regulators in order to ensure that the model that we are adopting here in the UAE is one of the leading models, and based on the learning from the different countries that have started with open banking and open finance earlier.
Yeah, I think collaboration with the regulator is an interesting piece, because you need the baseline and you also need the boundaries, right? Now, based on everything that you said, Saud, it actually gives me so many different thoughts. We can't unpack everything, but just a few, again, touching on that open banking. Now, in your position, I think banks typically are known to have legacy systems, but they want to make that big switch. Now, open finance, as you said, APIs and connectors to a lot of third parties, your data, their data, what to give, what not to give. And then you've got the data privacy challenges, security issues at the edge, because we notice that API security attacks or attacks at the API level is also increasing, right? So how do you juggle between all these different things and make sure that you're giving your business and business stakeholders the results that they want? You're making sure your customers feel comfortable with the platform being safe, secure, privacy is not being impeached. And thirdly, because the landscape is changing so rapidly, how do you also make sure that you have that 1 foot in future, so you don't have to redo everything?
Yeah, an interesting question, and tells me a lot about your study. I mean, definitely you have done a lot in terms of computer science. So for us as EMBD, as I mentioned, I mean, we've been focusing a lot on the technical foundation, but recently we started looking at open banking and open finance from a business and strategy point of view. And the moment you start looking at this area from strategy, business operating model, you will start writing down many such relevant questions, which are: what is the impact on the customer journey? What is the impact on the customer privacy? What is the cyber surface that I need to watch and protect?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll start asking all these questions, because if you look at this as a technology only problem, you would not even come into these questions in order to find solutions. You know that, before you start with a solution, you should frame the right question.
Yes.
And I think now we have all these questions. We understand the areas that we would like to focus on. And from my role as a group chief platform officer, one of the most important things that I should worry about here is to make sure that our platforms are exposing all their capabilities via APIs. Okay? And making sure that the legacy platforms are transformed. And for the areas where a transformation is, let's say, that has a limitation, because I mean there's a limitation. Depends on the area that you are tackling. Is actually build different kind of adapters that would expose those rich APIs functionality. So this is important. Second, making sure that the platforms are secured. 3, scalable. 4, resilient.
Yeah.
Because now you are not only serving your own channels, but talking about third parties that would interact with you, and you need to support their volume. You need to make sure that these connections are secured. You need to make sure that also you are resilient. You're always available. And these are some of the key priorities that I look at when designing platforms, running platforms at EMBD.
So intelligent integration, security by design, scalable on demand, and resilient by nature. If that's how I could summarize the platforms you guys are building, yeah?
Yes, you could be an architect. Trust me.
Good. Now, I want to switch a little more from there on, right? What role do fintechs actually play in all of this? And what does the future of fintech mean to either you personally or Emirates NBD as a group, Saud?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because I mean at the beginning when this fintech term started emerging, everybody thought about those companies as pure technology play. Okay,
Correct.
Now what happened because the legacy technology providers, unfortunately, banks are the main companies in this space, were actually pushing back on some of this innovation, and they were very slow in adopting some of the impressive solutions that were coming from the fintechs. Some of those fintechs started entering the territory of the banks. Because banks had all the opportunity to embrace at one point in time,
Yes.
to adopt some of these solutions, but they were very slow. Many of the banks were very slow, running on mainframes, legacy technologies, and etc. And by definition, banks were slow, heavily regulated, and it was not easy. So some of those fintechs started getting into the space of banks.
Yeah.
And then here you have two kind of responses. Some banks thought that this is a threat.
Yes.
And they started finding every single opportunity to block them.
Insecurities.
Insecurities and not working with them,
Yeah.
and try to fight back and etc. They were in denial. And other organizations, and here I'm proudly to say EMBD, look at this as a great opportunity. Why not? Why don't we learn from those startups and those players? Why don't we learn from them? Why don't we actually partner with them and try to bridge some of the gaps that we might have? Why don't we find a great collaboration opportunities in order to enrich the entire ecosystem? And that's what EMBD is doing. And I believe that fintech will play a great role in transforming the financial sector here globally and here even in the UAE. And the winners will be the ones that really recognize the opportunities, the collaboration opportunities with those fintech players.
Absolutely. I love the way you said it, because here we are at Dubai Fintech Summit and running the special episode of Date with Tech. The theme of Dubai Fintech Summit has been fintech for all. And you cannot be for all if you're not partnering, if you're not working with that collaborative or ecosystem mindset. So I'm glad that ENBD took that early mature decision of reaching out and partnering with the fintech community and not being a late reactor who by compulsion adopts to change, right? On that front, any examples, recent or early examples that you can share of ENBD's partnership with those startups, as well as the possible good, bad, and ugly that might have come out, because not everything might have succeeded or turned out the way that you guys wanted to, right?
Yeah, this is interesting and good. Actually, of course, through this journey, you have to embrace as well an element of learning.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna go through this journey, and you're gonna learn a lot, and it's an opportunity to improve and become much better. In some of the successful partnerships that we've been having is with a company called iPad. I mean, they do a great work in terms of identification of beneficiaries and recognizing the ultimate payment beneficiaries. They play a role in the cross-border payments transactions, and also Apro is a fantastic fintech as well. They play in the area of the KYC. KYC is an interesting space because banks, being a heavily regulated entity, relies on a lot of authentic data to identify a customer.
Yes.
By the way, KYC is know your customer. Know your customer. So we rely heavily on authenticated sources to identify the customer, and those guys are actually given a great opportunity to banks with rich, authentic data, which makes it so easier for the customer to interact and transact with the bank in a digital manner without the need of back and forth paper application based on papers, multiple signatories, and etc.
Fantastic. I know. I'm proud to tell you, I don't know if you know this, but we launched a startup initiative called as Fintech World Cup last year, which is a startup pitch competition which travels around the world, and the grand finale always takes place here at the Dubai Fintech Summit. iPad was a winner in our Singapore qualifiers, one of the qualifiers. And Apro was the winner of the grand finale last year. So I'm happy that we were able to identify those startups, which Emirates NBD has also identified as your partners in change, right? AI, again, it used to be a buzzword, artificial intelligence, a few years ago, but today everybody is embracing it. And I know of a lot of different initiatives that you guys have embraced. From a platform standpoint and from everything that you do, where does AI fit in, and what type of priorities does it come and help you solve?
Yeah, Okay, so AI been around for a while, and it took different shapes. And the recent shape that we know is around machine learning and generative AI. I mean, if you look at it within the technology landscape, it is not a standalone or an independent domain by itself. Ideally, AI is would fall into different domains. For example, I have multiple platforms at Emirates NBD, from payments, core banking, trade finance, treasury, and enterprise systems. There is a space for AI in each domain. Okay. And the idea is actually understanding the use case or the opportunity of AI. And we identified lots of great opportunities in the area of payments, in terms of optimize the payments routing, in the area of compliance, in terms of be much more intelligent in terms of compliance related decision, in the area of even core banking, optimize liquidities, and however, also in my previous role, I have a great success story around AI, because there we were one of the first companies that introduced GitHub Copilot.
Really?
And yes, globally, and actually we've been even recognized by Satya Nadella,
The CEO of Microsoft.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That we've been among the early adopters, and I
Wow.
think we've been the first here in the Middle East. And I can tell you, based on a personal experience as well, personally and with the team, it was a great experience. It was a great experience. It was an interesting journey. I think after a year, or probably less than a year, we've managed to recognize about 20% productivity.
Wow.
And also what we have done, we have our happiness index score for the teams. And actually the teams that are using Copilot, they were happier.
Nice. We use Copilot as well.
You do, right. So it is interesting. And actually, we have not stopped there. We are even now adopting the recent generations of those of the Copilot in order to enrich the developer experience, making sure that developers are much faster, productive, and also deliver on quality. You know that those are the guys that are always under tremendous pressure in order to deliver. Now we had given them this nice tool in order to help them.
Yeah.
We still demand a lot from our developers.
Well, you know what, Saud? You just beautifully conveyed the fact that AI for ENBD is cutting across people, processes, and technology, right?
It is everywhere.
It is everywhere, exactly. AI everywhere, because even the use cases that you gave, be it trade finance or core banking or cross-border payment settlement or user friendliness for your internal staff, and I'm pretty sure there are applications that are front-facing, customer-facing also. So you are using AI in pretty much everything that you do. That's amazing. Emirates NBD priorities for the next 3 years. No, 3 years is probably too long. For the next 1 year.
Okay, I mean, we're going to continue modernizing our platform, our technology stack. I mean, this is a journey that we've started a few years ago, and we became much better in doing that. And we recognize that this is a great investment. So we're going to continue doing that. At the business front, we are going to definitely leverage on such an investment and focus on payments. We're going to focus on SME. SME is a sector here in the UAE, and I think it is not well served by banks. It is part of one, business growth, but actually it's part of financial inclusion initiatives that we are part of at EMBD. Beyond that as well, sustainable finance is something that it's a new area as well that we started focusing on, and we've launched some successful products in this space. Play an active role in open finance is one of the priority. Continue our growth globally and in our regional market like KSA, Egypt. Interesting. I think at least I mentioned 5, but it's a long list.
So domain expansion, geographical expansion, business evolution. So initiate, implement, innovate, impact, because again, you talked about sustainable financing, blended impact investment, so many other things come in, right? So before we conclude, there's just one thing, because at least a couple of times you mentioned how Emirates NBD was the first to do something. Now, there is something about Emiratis, right? You want to be the first, right? The spirit of Emiratis, the leadership, and every single Emirati friend of mine that I have, including yourself, Saud, you've got to be number one, right? How do you guys make sure that this happens? And how is this you carry on your sleeve, on your shoulder every single day, that positive mindset to be the number one and actually end up being number one in so many different aspects?
Yes, definitely. And actually what I would say here, we are really inspired by our leaders.
Yeah.
Okay, our leader, our president, our vice president, and the leadership family here in the UAE are great inspiration for all the Emiratis, and we carry this, and that's why. I mean, we believe that it's either number one or nowhere. So we wake up every day, every morning. Be first. Every day you want to be first.
Yeah, fantastic. The leadership here is not just an inspiration for Emiratis. They're actually an inspiration for a lot of the expats like me who actually made UAE their home. And you'd be surprised that they're also an inspiration for those that have never actually traveled in here, but they read about the practical real life stories, the inspiration, the motivation, the fact, the growth of the UAE has been amongst the fastest when you compare to a lot of other countries. I think is just a motivation for the entire mankind. So for the Emirati you are, for the footballer you are, for the geek programmer that you are, for the chief platforms officer that you are, hats off to everything that you do at Emirates NBD, and hats off to all our Emirati friends out there that actually drive people like us to also strive to get better and strive for excellence. Thank you for joining us here at Date with Tech.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.